Oh, let's see. I see we have a few people. Chris just introduced, Chris Kelly from University of Hawaii just introduced himself. Deb Glixon, I know you're in the, oh wait, we're seeing bottom now, so we might want to.
Yeah, let's wait.
Yeah,
a bit
why don't we
and
wait?
Let the
Sorry, Deb.
settle. They will take just a few minutes to get the remotely operated vehicle D2 oriented, and then they will introduce themselves. What we're looking at here
look at that line.
Is a nice, smooth, sedimented seafloor with a very interesting V-shaped series of black dots. I have no idea what those are.
No, I'm still coming down.
Okay. That's good.
That's the amazing thing about using ROVs and submersibles. You get down to the bottom of the ocean, look at the seafloor, and you know that you are looking at something that nobody else has ever put their eyes on. We know so little about the surface of the ocean floor. We know more about the surface of the Moon, Mars, and Venus. So I'm sure the pilots will give us a chance to take a zoom on this once they're all settled.
There's some debris or something in the center of that
I think that might be a fish. You think it's debris? Give it a snap zoom.
Sorry, pilot.
Go ahead, snap it.
I couldn't hear.
We need to,
Coral.
we need to.
Okay, all right.
This is
Full wide.
Check that out, Scott.
This looks like a small
We'll
hole
hold this position
in the sediment, a depression.
I think what's happened is that it might have been formed by that.
By it just moving around in the current, so it has essentially dug itself into a hole, which is not so great for a coral, if it's a coral. Is it a coral?
Yeah, it is.
Thank you. But there's also an interesting pattern right above it on the screen. Does anybody on shore have any clue as to what might make such a trail on the seafloor? Scott France says this is a Bathypathes, perhaps, and that it looks like it has scoured itself a bathtub. Pilot. Co-pilot, could we have the lasers on, please?
Lasers on. Pilot, you got a red floating object.
It's like a little jelly.
Yeah.
Almost set up here.
Co-pilot, watch lead.
Go ahead, watch lead.
I wonder if you could put the lasers on?
I got them on.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we're zoomed out. You can barely see them.
Ah,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, hard to see. Right.
We have an event coming up.
It's an event that does not affect us. Scientists will be on a separate call. And should just be answering some questions from some interns at one of the ECCs. We'll continue with the dive with Patty.
All right.
So pilots, two things they had interest, obviously the coral-looking thing ahead and also that V-looking pattern of dots above it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get my Z-Bias dialed in first, and then we'll head over.
Got it, video. Thank you.
800 meter distance.
Yep.
600.
Okay, so we are going to zoom in as soon as the pilots get themselves situated and
So the nice thing about
see
today
if we can get a
is that
close-up view
shouldn't take too long
the
to
coral
get
that is
serious
sitting
moving.
in this little
Just a
depression.
little bit of a delay, but not as bad as
Yeah.
the other day. So once we get dialed in, I
The
will push
pilots
out. We'll
and
get a ship
the
moving.
navigator are switching places at the moment, so we'll have just a couple of minutes delay here before we get started.
Hi, Patty. It's Scott France.
Yeah.
As we're looking at this black coral, I'm quite certain this is the genus Schizopathes.
Co-pilot, can I
Wow.
push in
I'm
and
just
see
doing a
this
little
little bit
searching
to show
here,
that
and I
D pattern a
see
little better?
a photograph on the
Go ahead,
Serpent
Neil.
Project website. Serpent Project is
Center it up.
a collaboration between industry and science where ROVs used for industry for maintaining drilling platforms, etc., make their videos accessible to science.
looks like a
Anyway, there's an image
jellyfish
there
is
from
hovering
the
above
Indian
the
Ocean
left
that looks
corner.
almost exactly like this.
You're
Same
kidding.
colony,
Feels like there's
lying on
just
its side,
a little
has
bit of a
created
port
a
to
little
starboard
depression,
current.
and in that one there's a
Too bad, but
fish
it's
underneath it. So, Bruce, stay tuned.
Definitely present.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
I saw the
goodness.
jelly
That's
float by.
amazing, Scott.
See the
Thank you for
tether
that
floating out that way.
information.
Yep.
So
Sirius
it's,
is zoomed
it's
in.
common that in soft
Yep.
sediments they might do this sort of thing?
This sort of colony is known to have kind of a
Yeah,
hook
Copilot.
shape to the base of the main stem that it anchors into the sediments. I personally haven't seen before that it's created this kind of
Want to zoom in, Roland?
depression, but apparently
Hold there.
it does happen. And I guess that is a function of it being in the sediment, and
Oh,
so
you're
it's
not
not
talking
firmly
to
attached.
co-pilot.
Yeah.
You got to latch us
Oh,
on top.
that's fascinating.
Push down on it
Look
to talk to
at
us.
the circumferential
guys may also
scratches
need
in
to
the
check your
sediment
gains.
that the
No, he's not
arms
talking
of this
to us.
coral
There you
have
go.
made
Yeah,
as
there you
it
go.
sweeps around.
All right.
That's better.
What's our?
This is fabulous video.
There's another
Yep, I
interesting
gotcha.
possibility, and that is that there have been some studies that have shown that in Antarctica there are octocorals
What's
that
our,
feed in the sediments. The colony actually bends over
our
so
bearing
polyps can
to,
reach the sediments.
the
So who
next
knows?
waypoint?
Maybe
You can
this
zoom in tighter.
black coral, it's a colony, it's composed of
Hold there,
a
yeah.
number of individual polyps. Maybe those are also feeding in the sediment.
Wow.
Well,
Haven't
I
seen
think
anything
we're just
like
trying to
this
get to the
before.
top of this feature, so I think we're just going to probably head up slope
Copy that.
from
So
here.
kind of north, maybe north.
Okay, when we have enough
what-
video
What
on
does it look?
this.
What does the slope look like? What bearing is the slope?
Oh, nope, we got more
Okay,
imaging
what,
to
what
do.
direction seems to be upslope from here?
Like to get a good close look.
Just east of north.
The video is sufficient in some cases for the
can we
biologists on
zoom
shore
on
to
the
be
red
able
item?
to identify
Zoom in.
benthic animals
Hold there.
down to the species
Okay.
level.
Thinking
So we'd like to
And
get
now,
a
what I want
close
you to do
look.
first, before we really get started here, is
Now,
look at the
Shirley,
surface
what is
currents,
the
look
little
at the
red
winds,
blob?
try to
You think
determine what
that's
would happen
something
if the
it's
ship
trying to eat?
lost, should control, which way would we
Of
drift,
course I do.
and what would we need to do?
Still getting lots of oscillations.
Okay,
180.
maybe.
Okay, that seems reasonable right now, but why don't you double check? Setting down, rolling.
Pulling out a little bit.
Yep.
So the
Stable.
pilot's just setting the ROV, the remotely operated vehicle, D2, down on
Go
the
ahead.
seafloor. And we get a good look both at the
Just some
seafloor.
feedback. We can't hear Shirley if she is on or if she's talking
And you're
on
gonna
either
line
the
up the 350
telecon or on
She-
the video stream.
Yeah,
I can hear
she-
you fine, Patty.
Oh,
Note
yeah, okay.
that
She
red
is,
blob was right in the center of the polyp where the mouth would be, so it could either be going into or out of the mouth.
Okay. Yeah, Shirley is actually
Anything on
trying to speak individually to
No,
some
no,
of
not yet.
the-
I haven't
not
started that yet. No,
To-
no, my bad. I just didn't have talk on.
I gotcha.
All right. Is this sufficient science? Or do you want to?
Folks on shore?
Video would like you
That's
to
Yeah,
a
that's
good
good.
enough view.
Yeah, that's good.
closer to the red
Yep,
thing.
Shirley likes it. So
Yep,
let's
everybody's
go
happy.
on to
Everybody's
Let's go ahead and push
try
out
to get onto the slope.
and start moving? Yep.
We also are supposed to image these mounds.
Still don't know what those dark marks
Looks
on
like
the
the one
sediment
right
are,
laser
and
sky
they
line.
are
Washley, would you like to
interesting.
look at the mounds, or go ahead and push out and get started, or what do you want to do?
Just a quick look to see
Okay.
if those are individual mounds with anything sticking
ahead.
out the top.
Hold there.
Yeah. Do we see
And zoom in.
anything? Folks on shore, do do you see anything that would make us understand what these are? They have quite unique features.
Nothing sticking out that's obvious.
Oh boy, something sticking out of the top, says our pilot.
Or I do not
No, he
see
said he
anything.
does
did
not.
not
Go ahead and zoom
see
in tighter.
anything that was obvious.
Okay, no,
Hold there.
nothing.
Something left of screen is sort of purple.
Ah,
Small
no
L.
ideas.
These do look like
Lights are
mounds
slowed
that have been
down.
overturned, don't
Yeah, they sure
I
do.
think we're going to hit some
Yep,
pretty
I
steep
think you're
rocky
right.
stuff eventually.
Not
Okay.
sure what it
Hold off
is.
for them.
I wonder if these are
See what the
echiurine
falls
feeding
Copy that.
traces. We were talking the other day about the spoon worms that dig these burrows and send out
So
a long
180,
proboscis. You
it
can
looks
see there
like
look
the
like
ship would
spokes
drift
or
south
sun rays
as well,
around that.
so-
And that would be characteristic of echiurine
Okay.
feeding.
Right, right. But if
Good.
as we zoom out, you can see that
Can
these
zoom
are
out.
arrayed in a path
Okay.
that makes a
Yeah, it
steep
looks-
V
And
on the
what
surface.
is the average pace that we need to make today in order to get to the top of the ridge? It's interesting, huh?
Okay, I
They
think we
certainly
can
look
move
like
along.
most, if
Okay.
not all of them, are indeed mounds. So that suggestion by Scott certainly makes sense.
3, 4, 5, maybe. 3.
Okay,
5,
we are
5.
at 2,593 meters.
Yeah, we're going to want to get a ship move in here pretty soon too. But 3,
Yeah, right in there.
yep, 350 looks pretty good to me. I'm sorry, Washley, did you hail me? Okay, what do you need? Okay. Oh yeah.
Good
yeah, so we just had a
plan.
shift change, and now we've
Okay.
got Richard Stoner as nav, Dan Rogers as your pilot, and I've got Levi Yuma as my co-pilot, and we've got Roland Bryan on video control, and our clipper has stepped out, but I believe it was Tara Smithy who
It
will be
was.
back in momentarily, and we are all with the Global Foundation for Ocean Exploration.
And these are part of the crew who operate,
All right, Nav.
maintain, and make the upgrades
Let's,
to these vehicles that are allowing us to view and
Let's go ahead and do a 40
collect
meter
samples
move.
from the
Bearing
bottom.
350.2. We'll push out. We'll see what we got here. Now,
Some of the
40
products that are
meters,
available to you
350,
folks watching at home
0.2
will be
knots,
snips of the video collected today, and these are on the Okeanos Explorer website.
Want to
So
brighten it up, Roland?
when these have been loaded up, you can go to the website and see
And you
them
can come down a
and
few meters. co-pilot,
review
and
the
push out a bit
entire
more.
dive.
So one of the things that happens during these dives is that in addition to the shore-based scientists on the phone line talking to us directly and talking to you directly, we also engage in fairly lively debates and in our chat room. So one of the things that we're talking about right
Roland,
now in the
it's getting
chat
pretty
room
hot.
is why these
Right,
mounds,
there's
these
something
traces
left
are
with the
lined up
bright,
like that. Why are they
And
aligned?
here's another
Spots on
set
the
of
end of the
them,
dark
and they're
stick. Possible
similar
fish.
in that there are two traces. They're not
Seems like we have-
parallel.
Yeah, we'll look at that over there.
They seem to converge at
Just
a
got to wait for
point.
Sirius to get going. Sorry, did you call it in, Nev?
How odd.
Also,
Okay,
Huh?
cool. Thanks.
Or is
something
that
elevated
one
left of
trace that has come to the rock and so turned around and started going the
Couldn't
other way?
sense him.
Absolutely
Yeah,
could be.
really.
Yep.
That looks
And
like
we
a fish.
have
That looks-
a little fish, probably,
One of those
down
fish
very
with a bright
small.
white
Those
spot
two
on
red
its head.
dots are lasers,
I think you
and
come down a
they
couple
are
more
10
meters.
centimeters
I'm
apart.
trying to give you a
Okay.
little more here.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Who knows what the fish is?
Oh, Bruce undoubtedly
Yeah, I
does.
can't. I'm
Yeah,
following you.
but okay,
Well,
we're
I can't. I
waiting
gotta wait for Sirius to catch up, but it shouldn't take too long. You can
Uh,
zoom in tighter, and we can try to get a identification.
wait
at
for an
least.
ID on this.
Yep.
I think we'd be better served to pan
Bruce
around.
Mundy is our fish expert.
Well,
Yeah, here we go.
Here he
Well,
is.
there you go. Okay, that's fine. Should
yeah,
be.
this is really interesting. This is
Swimming
a fish that Astrid Leitner, one of Jeff Drazen's students, was asking
Right,
about
yeah,
yesterday
I gotta
on
go back
the chat room. This is a fish called Ipnops, I-P-N-O-P-S.
Right.
And it's in the same family as the tripod fish. It's in the same general group, the order, as the deep sea lizard fish that we saw yesterday. This one is extremely unusual, showing perhaps the most extreme modification of eyes in any deep sea fish. The eyes have evolved into large plaques on the top of the head that are reflective. So that huge white area on top of the head is actually the eyes. There are two of those plaques, one on each side. And they're likely, again, light sensing like a lot of these fishes, but certainly can't form images. So highly unusual. Most of the top of the head is covered by these eye plaques that are reflective. And they're ambush predators. They wait on the bottom and lunge upward to capture small crustaceans or small fish. I'm not sure that there's a lot known about the feeding of Ipnops because they're very rare.
So, zoom in.
There are two species in the genus,
Okay.
and it's quite an unusual sighting. If we had a chance to zoom in and take a close look at the top of the head of one of those fish, it would be kind of neat to see those eye plaques in a close-up.
Well, Bruce, we're seeing another fish.
There's another fish on the screen right now.
Take a look, Bruce, in just a second or two. Tell us what we have now.
Well, this looks like one of our favorite types of fish in the deep sea that we see a lot. It's a cusk eel, elongate eel-like fish. I haven't gotten a good enough view. I think this is something called Bathozetus. Small eye, eel-like body, a large rounded head.
It's a great picture anyway.
It's a genus that we see somewhat often. They hover up in the water column above the bottom and cruise along, sensing food and potential predators with their lateral line system, organs along the side of the body and out on the head that sense vibrations. This one has relatively small eyes, so again, probably good for sensing bioluminescence from potential prey or approaching predators, but not for images. So this is a fish that cruises up off the bottom
highlight video made of
instead
that
of
one
lying
too.
on the bottom like the Ipnops that we just saw.
Holothuria in serious view.
Copy that. And
POL.
He's gone.
Okay, going for
But
the
I don't know
coral.
that that is.
See some white creatures living towards the top third of it.
Yeah, just keep. Oh, you can. I guess you're about right. Just keep an eye on it. Let me know if I need to move.
Copy that.
Not getting much light from Sirius today.
All three lights are on.
Well, I'm stretched out pretty far. Remember
The
the
rock
tether's a little
that
longer.
we are zooming on, before the biologists get a chance to describe the animal, has a very lumpy surface, no doubt. Oh, covered with a couple of animals and manganese oxide. Oh, beautiful coral.
Yeah. Scott, would you like to describe what it is that we're seeing? Oh, he's very excited already, I can tell.
Sure, I'm still waiting for the zoom. Here we go. This does look like a bamboo coral, which is a type of octocoral. I see that it is unbranched, has fairly big polyps. This is an animal, a colonial animal. So it develops from a single egg, a single embryo, but as it grows, it buds off individual polyps, each of which has a mouth. You can see that little reddish-pink spot surrounded by 8 tentacles. The tentacles themselves have what are called pinnules. And each of those polyps is able to capture prey from the water column, probably small zooplankton. It has an internal skeleton made of calcium carbonate, and you can see the tissue's kind of transparent, and should be a whitish skeleton in there. It's a little bit hard to see. That's actually one of the characteristics of this taxon. I'm not entirely sure what species or even what genus this is. We would probably classified as the genus Lepidopsis for now.
We had lasers on this subject. I don't know if that's needed.
It's unlikely to actually be that, but that's just because of turnover in the taxonomy that's ongoing. It's called a bamboo coral because the skeleton resembles bamboo plants in that it's articulated, and somewhere along here you should be able to see through the tissue dark nodes, which would be made of protein between these calcium carbonate sections.
Okay.
So, Scott, I'm not seeing any long intertentacular rods, or I've forgotten what you call them, but do you have any idea just based on that what it could be, what genus?
It would probably go into the Jasonisis clade. I don't necessarily believe that this is Jasonisis, but the thickness of the tissue and that observation you just made that the needle-like sclerites do not protrude through the base of the tentacles, it's probably in that part of the bamboo coral tree.
I'll get some lasers on it if that's all right.
Yeah, go for it.
There you can see one of the dark nodes near the base there, just sort of this darkish patch through the tissue, confirming that this is indeed a bamboo coral. Thank you for that close-up. We'll get some really good images from that.
We should also zoom on the creature down on the lower part of the rock to the right.
Thanks.
Sounds like they want to see the lower part of the rock.
Yep. All right, you clear video?
Yeah, the science also mentioned a connection on the...
They just requested that we look down lower right, so we're going to do that.
Yep, they also commented on the other one.
Okay, well, we're going to do this one here, since that's what they just asked for. If you could zoom in and tilt down, Copilot.
And looks like a bivalve. Yeah, 2 of them.
Oh, sorry about that.
Wow.
No, you're good.
It's closer than I thought.
And they're open.
Perfect.
Fabulous. Folks on shore, anybody want to comment on these animals? And then there's a visitor right between them, tiny little something.
Go ahead and zoom in.
Maximum.
Thank you. Nav?
Okay. You should be seeing these really quickly.
So try to take note
These
how long
are
the
bivalves. They
is.
are clams of some kind or mollusks of some kind. Those things that look like lips would be called mantle tissue. That's the tissue that actually secretes that shell. And you can see some little tentacle-like structures. Those would be sensory, allowing it to detect chemicals in the environment. In shallow water, some of the scallops and the giant clams, there's actually little pigmented spots on the end of those tentacles, so they function essentially as eyes that can detect the light.
Oh, right.
And these are typically filter feeders using their gills, their cilia on the gills that create a current. So current would be generated to be sucked inside there.
Okay, we can zoom out a bit.
So I think Les Watling mentioned the other day that these dives are like mini invertebrate zoology courses where we get refreshers. Some of us get refreshers. Some of us get information that we've never known before. That's the benefit of having all of these experts on the line who can some of whom actually teach deep sea biology courses or invertebrate zoology courses and can talk to us about the anatomy, the physiology, the behavior, the adaptations for life in the deep sea.
The shell of those bivalves look really, really delicate.
Delicate, yeah.
Is that indicative of any particular aspect of this individual?
Not sure.
Copy that.
I'll come up just a little bit.
Yep.
So I'm over top of you. I got you at 80 degrees.
Okay, pushing forward.
Kind of a soft bottom here, soft substrate.
Yep. Altitude is not giving you a lock. Yeah.
Patty, what were you saying earlier this morning about, or maybe it was last night, about the sediment, the cores that had been done, and how deep thick that sediment was in some areas?
Oh, I think we better look at this first.
Is this your favorite or second favorite?
That
was your favorite.
It is my favorite. This is a holothurian, and it is swimming, which is fabulous. They are the most graceful swimmers.
And we had we've had quite a long discussion about these holothurians over a few of the dies. So you'll see it settles on the bottom, and it actually will start. Yes, we have a landing. It settles on the bottom, and it actually feeds on the bottom, and so that's how it feeds primarily.
Touch my toe, and now there's a dust cloud. So I'm gonna push out.
From time to time, it'll push itself up and move to another location along the bottom by gracefully swimming in the water just above the bottom. So not sure if it can actually remove particles with its feeding tentacles when it's in the water column, but it kind of bounces along.
I wouldn't think it would bother.
Never know. You never know.
That's
but
true.
yes,
Squad lobster in a
might take a gulp.
Okay.
Okay.
So what we're traveling up right now at the base of the steep cliff is probably material that has fallen off the cliff and made a pile on the seafloor that has been covered by sediment.
Maybe not a squat lobster.
Now we are looking at some kind of a worm.
Yeah, it might be another. It could be another polychaete tube. This one's. You can see now the sediment particles, because the ones we've seen over the last few dives have all been dark, kind of.
Yeah,
and here
these dark sediments,
right? But you can see that it's got kind of dark. There are dark sediment particles in that burrow.
But under the lighter brown on the surface.
Yep.
And we are really shallow today, so all the little white dots that you see scattered around on the surface, and perhaps
in that
exclusively chosen
maybe
to surround the tube, are the shells or tests. Of one-celled animals called foraminifera. Yeah, we refer to the shells of them as tests, so you may hear us say that by taking an examination, TEST.
And why is that different from what we saw yesterday in terms of the depth? Remember you mentioned that?
I do remember. Yeah, we are way above what's called the carbonate compensation depth, and that just refers to the depth in the ocean water at which calcium carbonate that makes up the shells of these animals will dissolve, because the water is deep and cold. The colder it gets, the deeper it gets, the more readily carbonate will dissolve.
Okay, thanks.
Big rock.
That helps a lot, Nav. Thank you. Okay, so nothing crazy in sonar yet. Are we still moving, or have we settled out?
I think we're just settling out.
A lot of these rocks just have fallen off the cliff that we're approaching, so we're getting close.
Push out to this
We'll probably see a lot more of them as we get to the base of the cliff.
Okay. Not too bad.
So yeah, I'd be comfortable with another.
And because these rocks are, a firm surface, we may see more benthic animals attached to them.
So now, what was our rate that we need to
average of 0.1?
0.1.
Oh, so got a fish over to the left, but I don't know if you can get over there. I think
Pilot,
I saw a shadow.
Fish to the left from shore.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Right.
I don't see it.
I do not see a fish.
No, I don't see it either.
Do you see it rolling?
I see something white.
I do not.
In the upper part of the screen.
I'm sorry. I thought I saw something, but it was a mirage.
Yeah, the shore-based scientist is saying, I didn't see anything.
I think Chris is getting hopeful.
Yeah.
Something here.
Yeah, there's something small.
You want to zoom in?
Let's see what it is. See if we can figure it out.
Try to ride the current with it.
Okay, folks on shore.
Polychaete worm.
Is this a polychaete?
Ooh, those legs.
Look at the iridescent reflection on its little legs.
He's moving fast. So, watch lead, we've got not too bad, but definitely a good amount of current right now coming port to starboard.
Yes, that is a polychaete worm.
So that's from west to east.
So that's difficult for you to maneuver?
No, it's totally fine, but it's definitely having to fight it a bit.
Okay,
but it's just letting you know that it's present.
Thank you.
Shouldn't be a problem, though.
Looks like a shrimp coming up next to lasers.
Oh yeah, okay. He's got some long legs. Hold on.
Oh.
Go ahead and partial.
We have a shrimp.
Zoom in.
He's got something growing on his antennae.
Hold there.
Oh, long antennae. We have seen this animal before on several of our dives. And folks on shore can tell us more about this. Scott or Chris?
Thanks, co-pilot.
Oh, it's our buddy, the long-legged shrimp.
This is
right now, because we've seen some variations of this guy here in the Marianas. I'm not really comfortable going to nematocarcinus tenurostrus, so we'll just call it nematocarcinus as an indicator that it's got really long legs. But that's kind of it. They seem to be everywhere at most depths and seem to be a very successful group of shrimp.
Right. Yeah, we have seen quite a few.
I see leeches on the antennae again, at least 2 of them.
Yeah, you're right. Oh,
yeah, I see that too.
Leeches on those antennae.
Hold.
And as we zoom in to look at the leeches, you can also see this very fine, fibrous area near the head of the shrimp on its antennae that are reflecting the lights of the ROV with sort of a pale bluish purple. So, can we see these leeches? What are these, Scott?
You mean the white things?
The white things.
Those are leeches, just like the common blood-sucking, worm-like leeches that we find in shallow water and ponds and lakes and so on. So there are lots and lots of different kinds of leeches, and there are some that are specialized to live on crustaceans in the ocean. Until 2 dives ago, I had never seen any on these deep-sea shrimp, but go again.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Cool video. This video is being brought to you with a big high-definition camera that is oriented right in the center of the ROV on the front, and the pilot will follow animals like this with the camera, and then our videographers will zoom in to get this fantastic imagery.
Going for the feet, but
beautiful animal.
Go ahead. Little pinchers on there.
You can see the tips of its feet.
Okay.
This is just fantastic.
Partial. Yeah, right there. Cool. All right.
Very fine sediment surface. And again, the little white specks you're looking at are the shells of one-celled organisms called foraminifera.
Something white. Turn lasers back on.
Under a microscope, the foram tests or shells are, some of them are coiled. My favorite one, which is very easy to identify, is orbicular, just a big sphere with a hole in it. When these animals are alive, they have incredibly intricate tissue surrounding the shell and many projections of tissue out into the water around their bodies. They're really quite beautiful in the living state. Our pilot is telling us that we have a noticeable current on the seafloor. Normally what that will result in are ripple marks or slight raised ridges that are aligned perpendicular to the current. So on the left side of your screen you may see some dark lines, and those probably are the edges of ripple marks. And we have an animal on this angular rock right in front of us. So as we zoom in, we'll get our biologists on shore to give us some explanation of what we're seeing.
Okay, go ahead, zoom in.
The red laser dots are 10 centimeters apart, about 4 inches. And this doesn't look, the thing in front doesn't look like it's living, but there's something behind it that is.
Couple things.
There are several things here in the field of view that I'm sure we'll hear from our biologist on shore in just a moment.
Zoom out
Yeah,
partial.
this is a very interesting structure. It's clearly a tube, and I would guess from the color and feel of it that it's composed of mud grains, so it's almost assuredly some kind of polychaete worm, but it's awfully long, so I'm not sure.
Go ahead and zoom in partial.
Right.
There is something called Hyalonesia, a quill worm, and they may have tubes somewhat like that, but I haven't seen them quite so straight. I can't quite see the colony in behind yet.
We're seeing the white thing is a carnivorous sponge,
I am
so we
moving
need
pilot,
a
but I
good
got you
view of
at 60,
this.
so you got
Cool.
plenty of time.
Thank
So
you,
you know.
co-pilot. Yep.
I think that's bryozoan, isn't it? And it looks like there's an isopod to the left of it.
Zoom in tighter
Chris,
if you
I
got
think
it.
these are both sponges.
Ship in position. Thank you.
Max.
Now.
Yeah,
Okay.
Shirley is speaking to some interns at her institution in Florida, and she's saying, oh, is this a carnivorous sponge? And 2 species of them.
Yeah, I think I agree with Shirley there.
Okay, zoom out.
And on the far right,
Bob Carney from LSU was suggesting possibly that tube we were looking at could be a Pogonophoran tube. And Pogonophoran are an interesting group of worms that typically don't have a mouth, but instead rely on bacteria inside the body to digest chemical to produce food.
fascinating. And there was also Xenophyophore, which was sort of the furled animal that was to the right in that image that we just looked at. So that was quite a little community of critters there.
Hard. Okay.
Growth
And
from
this
out
looks
of a
like a
tube, out of
worm
a mouse.
Snap zoom on
sticking
this.
out of the seafloor, the black
Hold there.
tube. Just wondering if there are any. Oh,
Backing up.
no, wait a minute.
That's a little in. Is that a little indent?
Yeah, it's
I don't
gouged.
think that is. I'm looking for shadows from the lights.
No, I think it's in the
I
sediment.
think that's not extending out. No, that's a groove in the sediment. Okay, folks on shore, what does this?
It's kind of bizarre, huh? Oh, there's
I'm going
something
to
in
guess
there.
that is a sponge that is tipped over,
There's
and that's
something
the
in there.
stock of it.
No, there's
Really?
something inside. See it?
I think there's, yeah, the
Zoom in
pilot
tighter?
is saying there's
Yeah.
something inside.
Hold
So,
there.
no, that's a groove, folks.
That's a little
And there's
shrimp in
That's
there.
a crack.
It's a crack,
Yeah,
and there's
now I
a
can
little
see
shrimp
your angle
inside.
is a group for sure.
Yep, shrimp
Huh, okay.
inside the crack. Have no idea what might have made that crack.
Okay, let's zoom out.
Isn't it amazing?
Could this be a couple of those slabs of rock like we were seeing before, but they're more dusted in sediment so we can't see the top?
Okay.
I could stick my toe down and see. I don't want to disturb his home, but
Something may be living in that crack.
see if there's a...
Shore-based scientists are
Rock
saying
here.
there may be something on the rocks. We also see in the upper center of the screen a little black hole with
Try it a
a
little bit.
series of radiating
It seems just like sediment.
indentations on the sediment that probably are from a worm that throws its some sort of a sticky tentacle out onto the seafloor and then draws it in so that it can feed on the material in the sediment.
Proboscis is the word you're looking for, Patty?
Thank
or,
you.
or
On the bottom of
tongue?
this
Thank
rock.
you.
A what?
Growth sticks white. It's also like a small shrimp or something
Yeah.
at the
I
bottom.
can zoom in quick before the dust cloud comes.
Oh, this is some of that delicate veil-like material that we've seen in many places on these dives, adhering to rocks.
White stalk is a sponge.
And as far as we know, haven't got a good identification of this yet. Anybody have an idea?
Zoom in tighter. Hold.
You do have a minute or two, pilot.
Okay.
I got you at 71.
Patty, I don't have any idea. This stuff has been bedeviling Les Watley and I for years and years.
Has it? Has anybody ever managed to collect it and try to do any kind of analyses on it?
Check left.
We haven't. I don't know if other groups have, and I think that's in part just because, you know, the amount of time that you have on the bottom, collections are precious, and so trying to scoop this stuff up is just not something we've taken the time to do, but perhaps somebody else has.
Okay, thanks. Well, it would be very difficult to collect, especially with manipulator
because it didn't seem like
fingers,
there was a rock underneath that sediment, but
you can see that the seafloor is getting steeper here. We're getting closer to the base of the cliff. And I'm guessing that we'll be seeing more and more rocks as we approach the base of the cliff. So for anybody just tuning in, what I'm talking about is the fact that our dive today will be traversing up a cliff that is about 645 or so meters high. Undoubtedly, this cliff is fault controlled, and the faults are oriented east-west more or less. Today's dive is on the deeper one of a series of steps caused by faulting between the Mariana Island Arc and the Mariana Trench. And now we are looking at a sponge. Okay, sponge folks on shore. What are we seeing?
They're going to want to close this.
You might be able to get there.
So I can get to order. This is hexactinella, glass sponge in the order Amphidiscophora.
We're settling out now.
And the types of things I'm looking at right now are the stalk, which is very hairy, the fact that it's living in sediment, and it tends to have a bit of a catcher's mitt type of appearance to it. So I'm going to take a stab and call it in the genus Sericolophus family Pheronematidae, where they have these catcher's mitt sponges. And there is a deep variety in Hawaii that's a new species, but it does not quite look like this. So this is different. And very may likely be a new species.
we're at like 340
okay,
right now.
Chris.
But 350.
What are these spicules that are extending from it? The pale, hairy-looking features. I haven't seen these on sponges, or is this some commensal animal?
No, these are, I think these are spicules, and that really deep new one has got the same type of thing sticking out of one face of it. So this is great. This is the first sponge, if I'm correct about this. This is the first Sericolophus that we've seen on the entire expedition.
Wow. Boy, thanks, Chris.
Go ahead and zoom in tighter.
Well, that's great video of the base.
So if he was able to just do a quick spin around to look at the back side, I could probably ID it for certain to that genus.
The back side? Or the uphill side?
Is it possible? Yes. For us to get the opposite side of the sponge. It's sometimes a little difficult to do a maneuver like this just because we might kick up some sediment that would obscure the field of view, but
66.
looks like it's going pretty well. Okay, Chris, we're looking at it in profile now, and you'll see it in a second or two.
Yep, we still need to get around to the other side, and I think you'll see an indent on the other side, and then you should see part of that stem coming partway up into the indent.
Not sure I'm going to really get too far over.
Yeah, pilot, do you think we can get around a little bit more to see an indented side on the opposite end?
Hitting the bottom and zoom out.
We'll try. Looks like it might be a little difficult to do this.
Yeah,
And if he can't do it, it's no problem. I'm about right now 97% certain that that's what it is.
Okay.
yeah, I'm not sure I'll be able to. It's
Nah, that's all right, pilot. Thank
pretty
you.
angle there, but we can. I'll try one more time. I'll try getting a little further.
Okay, thank you. One more try.
Just let me know when I need to get going, co-pilot.
Copy that. I got you at 67.
Just watch the tether there. Should be okay, but
I pulled up just a little bit.
good.
So yeah, you don't
So
have a
right
whole
now
lot
we're
of tether.
about 1.3 meters above the seafloor as the
go
pilot
and zoom
maneuvers
in.
around
Might be
to
able
try to get a look at the sponge. And there's some little worm on the seafloor right uphill of it, so to the
Yeah,
right
it's
of
not
the
a great
sponge.
view. Let's zoom out. Yeah. So D2 isn't really designed to look downhill.
Yeah.
Well, there's some interesting features on the seafloor here. These circular indentations. Was that made by the ROV? Don't think so. Okay, we're coming to a pile of rocks.
Okay, getting a little steeper. So have we started feeling that other
And the
move yet?
seafloor is getting
That
steeper.
30-meter one?
I think just barely.
These
Yeah.
angular
That's about 7
blocks
minutes ago.
are characteristic of rocks that have fallen off the
Okay.
Okay. Not
the
quite.
edge of a steep wall
that's
on the
perfect.
seafloor. So they
Just
haven't
push
sort of
out and wait for
tumbled
it,
around
and,
as they
we'll
fall
approach
and
slowly.
become,
Just keep an eye on it, co-pilot.
you know,
Yeah, I
get
got you
the
30
edges
degrees,
knocked
so cool.
off and become more rounded,
around a
although
little
here
bit.
are a
Good.
couple of rounded ones that may have indeed tumbled from further up the slope.
I'm going to move.
So you can get a feel for some of the dynamics of the slope just by looking at rocks on the
Is the
seafloor.
sponge on a stalk below the lasers? Or something
There's a
white?
tiny white something right in the center of the screen, ish. So the red dots you see are 10 centimeters apart. Those are our laser beams. So this animal is quite small, if it's an animal.
Go ahead and snap zoom.
So we're going to zoom in, take a look. Ooh, this looks like a small sponge. Chris, you want to take a stab?
Chris has to step out for a call right now.
Okay.
Drifting in. There we go. Okay, let's zoom out.
Thank you, pilot. In the
Now we're moving
Sirius view, which
Yep.
is the center of the three
Yellow rock?
feeds that you have at the bottom of the screen, you can see the remotely operated vehicle that we're using, the D2, and it is approaching
Possible
the
hull
steeper
fully
part of
under
the
that
slope.
rock.
In the
That's
Sirius
all.
view, you can see rock piles on both in front of the vehicle and behind, and there is a white animal, perhaps of some sort. I'm
Good
pretty
zoom in.
sure on the left.
Any reason this rock is colored a little differently?
This rock looks like it has tumbled over. Its right side is black, covered with manganese oxide that
so
had
it's
been
just the
exposed to
rock.
the
Okay, zoom out.
seawater, and the brown that we're looking at is a fresher exposure of the rock. So it hasn't had time to develop a real thick coating of manganese oxide, but I think
Great, thanks,
the
Nav.
white thing just below or nestled
zoom.
against the rock. So it hasn't had time to develop a real thick coating of manganese oxide, but I think
Great, thanks,
the
Nav.
white thing just below or
It's not
nestled
zoom.
against the rock. Maybe an interesting animal.
It's like a
Yeah, we absolutely should image this.
Oh,
type, huh?
yes.
With some type
Folks
of a
on
large
shore,
scale
is
worm.
this?
It is, I've never seen that before.
Is this a
That's-
holothurian?
I've never seen that before either.
Can we adjust the
So that's
ship
a
move?
polychaete worm. It's a
Oh, we should
scale
just stop
worm of
rolling.
some kind.
Okay.
It's a little
Make sure
harder
we
to
get
tell that
images
it's a
of it,
worm
don't worry.
because the soft scales on the top of the body, the back side, the dorsal side, are hiding it. And then that little lollipop sunburst structure
It's
is
not
a
partial anymore.
carnivorous sponge.
Yeah, I was wondering. Can we zoom on that sponge, the carnivorous sponge? Because Shirley will kill me if we don't.
Which one? I was focused on the worm.
Just to
here.
the right
Little
of the
lollipop
polychaete,
right
there
next
was
to it.
on the
Sorry,
rock
watch
below
Can you
it.
repeat that?
Just to the right of the polychaete, on the
Okay.
rock below it, there is a carnivorous sponge.
Okay. Just let me know, co-pilot, what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I'm good.
And I think
ahead and zoom in.
I saw that this little carnivorous sponge, it's quite small, but it's got hold of something. And here
Hold
we
there.
go. Oh, maybe not. I'm not sure what the pinkish orange thing is up at the top.
Well, that's the sponge body, and probably it's that color because it's captured some crustacean like an amphipod and digested it, and that's the color of the lipids that were in that amphipod before it got digested. So that's my suspicion. It's one of the reasons they capture them. In fact, Les Watling was telling me about a study, or maybe it was his study, on some
Little bit
deep
more zoom, but
water
not much.
carnivorous sponges from the Aleutians, where they had found that the digestion was preferentially the lipids, which are very energy-rich fats, as opposed to the rest. They just left the rest of it undigested. And I think I see a second scale worm on the top of the rock to the left, and I'll just note for anybody who's familiar in shallow water
Not partial.
with Aphrodite, the sea mouse. This is basically a deep-sea sea mouse.
A deep sea mouse. Yeah, thank you so much, Scott. Beautiful description. Love it. And Shirley's sitting behind me talking to some of the interns at her home institution, saying pretty much exactly the same thing.
It would certainly be embarrassing if we were saying opposite things.
Indeed it would. I just wanted to reassure you.
It's a cool-looking creature.
Oh, great video. That's
Ready for
fantastic.
type?
Go ahead.
Max.
So a great zoom shows all the details.
These scales, when we refer to the scale worm, we're referring to those things that look like plates.
Right.
Those are actually outgrowths of the parapodia, which are the paddle-like extensions of each of the segments of the body. So polychaetes are very closely related to oligochaetes. Oligochaetes are your common earthworms. So anyone who's picked up an earthworm knows
That's right,
that
80
it's
degrees.
segmented, and if you
Zoom
feel
out.
it, it feels kind of scratchy or rough, and that's because it has these two small chaetae or setae sticking out each side of those segments. Well, here in the polychaetes, those chaetae are much more numerous. You can see what look like a whole bunch of tentacles sticking out the side of the body. Those are the setae or the chaetae. And again, the top of the paddle-like outgrowths of the side of the body are extended up over the top of the worm. And very often you find these scale worms living associated with other animals, for example, inside bivalves. And that little bit of space, those scales on top, leaves some space so water can flow through and they can get oxygen to the gills.
Still no hard returns.
Oh, it's
on
fascinating,
Sirius,
Scott.
Correct.
Thanks for the detail.
Hopefully.
So
See this
we're
cliff
about
Go to
25, 2556
Yeah.
plus a couple of meters up off the seafloor, and pretty clearly getting
Contours do
to
get closer
to
together.
the scarp or the
Keep
wall
doing
of
our
the
30-meter hops as they
fault
push up.
scarp that we're probably going to be spending
Yeah,
most of our
right there.
time on today in this dive.
Yeah, you're nice
But you
far
can
out.
see it's very clear that some of this talus has moved down through indentations in the pile of sediment that is collecting at the base of this scarp.
Perfect.
We're seeing a small outcrop on the
so are you still
left-hand
swinging, or are you
side.
good?
I think I am still swinging a little bit. When did we stop, Nav?
Very distinct shelf here.
Yeah, probably. Let's get another 30-meter move in.
Yeah.
30-meter, 0.2. And you're happy with 350?
I am.
Yeah.
Pilot, could we
Looks
take
good to
a
me.
quick zoom on this little shelf? And there's
Sure.
a white spot in the middle of the lower center of the screen on the edge of this
Lower center
scarp.
of the screen?
Yeah, there's
Little
a little
white
white
dot.
thing,
Okay.
right. Looks like a critter hanging off the wall there. On
This
the
is Bob.
I see what you're
Bob,
talking
hi
about.
Bob.
Okay.
This is Robert Stern. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us where you're from.
Come back a bit.
Oh, hi, this is Bob Stern. I'm from the University of Texas at Dallas, and I'm a geologist. And as a geologist, I wonder if we shouldn't take a sample.
Oh, would you like a sample of this? We haven't quite got to the wall of the fault yet. Would you like something in this outcrop? Remember, we can only take 2 rocks.
That's right, and something near the base would be good, I think.
Okay. This is part of the talus pile at the base of the scarp. We haven't got to the scarp yet. The slope is, the angle of the slope is at least 45 degrees. In some places, it's almost vertical. And I wonder if you'd like to wait until we get to see something intact on that huge scarp. We've got 646 meters of relief on this scarp. So whatever you'd like.
Well, let's take one, in the next half hour or so, huh?
Okay, sure enough. Looks like we have an anemone down there on the bottom of the screen. This material looks like it's very easy to break up because we see so many fragments of rock below this very small scarp. The
Let's zoom out to
The
partial.
2 red dots are 10 centimeters apart, so this little outcrop is probably
cool
only
image here.
15 centimeters high.
Is that a
And the
fan
fact
up
that we
there
have
rolling
so many
on
rocks
top?
that are
It's
broken
I think
off
it's
suggests that it's
mush.
fairly
That mesh stuff.
friable
Yeah.
material, maybe
You just snap
sediment.
zoom and
And we have
yeah, I think you're right.
something
Spider webs.
attached to the
See
rock
spider webs?
that we're looking at. Oh, there
there's
are some
something
animals.
there.
There's
Zoom in.
something in the
It's a
Is that a
upper.
corollary
Yeah.
hydroid.
Hydroid,
Zooming
yeah,
in
hydroid.
on, oh, this is a
sorry.
pretty animal. I do not know
real
what
quick.
this is.
It's a,
Are we going to zoom on that
you sure can.
animal on the rock?
Let me just stabilize here and we'll zoom in.
This is an interesting looking thing. I don't know what this is,
Go ahead and,
but I'm not
hold on.
supposed to know. So we'll get our
This
biologist
is a
on.
solitary hydroid. So
Okay.
we talked about hydroids, hydrozoan colonies,
Zoom in my,
hydrocorals. They're all
center to 30 meters,
cnidarians,
please.
so related to the octocorals and anemones that we're seeing, but they're in a different
Go ahead
class,
and
the
zoom in.
hydrozoa. And many of them are colonial. I think it was
Talking video,
yesterday
right?
we saw on
Yeah.
a sponge
Okay.
stock a whole bunch of what I
Yeah.
said looked like the hydra that
Hmm.
high school students should be used to looking at. Well, this is basically a giant hydra.
That's surely asking for zooms
And when we get a
on,
close look at it, maybe I'll say a little bit
controlling
more.
the camera.
Yeah, it's coming to you
You're
in just a
asking
few
for
seconds,
sonar.
Scott. It's beautiful.
Gotcha. And I asked, yeah.
They're keeping everybody
And I was
straight.
asking you for zoom.
So keep everybody
Yeah, so
straight.
Chris is suggesting possibly the genus Corymorphus,
And the
or
douche tracking
certainly
is off.
the
Oh, is
Corymorphidae,
it?
a family.
And,
So you can see that long tubular
audio conference is low.
body,
See
the body wall of the polyp. That's basically where the gut is. It's attached to the rock. And you're looking at these beautiful ring of tentacles, and in the center of the tentacles, that orangey pink little stalk is called a hypostome. So the mouth is basically raised there. And then when it's reproductive, there would be the gonadal tissue, which produces the eggs and so on, would be surrounding that mouth.
Thank you very much.
Whenever you see those spirals, There may be a worm in the center, so which reacts quickly as we get close.
Are these, you want to zoom in partial? Are those more little cracks? Or no, those are stalks.
I think these are little stalks.
Yeah, zoom in tighter.
We're going to zoom on these stalks because they kind of look like cracks, but they do have shadows under them.
Yep.
So I think these are possibly sponge stalks. Folks on shore,
Moving up to
our
the upper one here.
biology group on shore might want to make a comment.